Thank you very much, Klaus, for that nice welcome and also for setting the stage here today. Now, before we do the official launch, I would like to encourage you in the audience during the next 90 minutes to participate actively here. Not only by watching the broadcast and hopefully reading through the report itself, but also by asking questions during the event. We're going to have a Q&A session towards the end of the launch where all the experts will be present. Now, if you want to ask questions, you can do that and participate through Slido, an interactive tool which requires no kind of downloads. All you have to do is to open a browser and type slido.com, slido.com. You can see it on the screen now. And the code today is NCES 2021. It's rather logical. It's Nordic Clean Energy Scenarios 2021. Now, here you enter a forum where you can ask questions and comment. And the geniality of Slido is that you can influence what questions that should be asked simply by clicking like. The more likes a question gets, the higher the probability of me asking the question. Also, if you see a question that is similar to the one that you were planning on posting, please click like on the one that you saw instead, because that's going to help me out, not having to read through the same questions several times. You can ask questions anonymously or in full name. And regardless of that, I would like for all of you to specify who you are directing your questions to. That, of course, is going to help me out a bit as well. So thank you in advance. I'm going to monitor Slido as we go along through this, so don't hesitate to participate. Now, let's move on and into the program. Klaus Gude just pointed and painted out the larger picture for us, keeping in mind the joint declaration from the Nordic Prime Ministers aiming at achieving Nordic carbon neutrality by 2030. There's no doubt, as he said, that time and action are of the essence. Something that has been strongly underlined by the recent IPCC's assessment report as well. So how do we get there? What needs to be done to reach the targets? What will the Nordic energy system look like in 2030? Let's start looking into those questions by lending ears to one of the coordinators of the Nordic Clean Energy Scenarios project, Senior Advisor Kevin Johnsen at Nordic Energy Research. Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm eager to learn more about the background of the report. So tell me, how did you manage to work across the Nordic countries, knowing that we do emphasize different energy sources and use them differently throughout the Nordic region? How did you do it?
So thank you, Ruth. So first of all, what our director, Klaus Gude, just said, working across the Nordics is in Nordic Energy Research's DNA. So what we did for this project and this report was that we brought together a consortium of researchers and consultants from all the Nordic countries. And then we also put together a Nordic reference group and a Nordic expert team to kind of review and evaluate the result we found.
So it's quite elaborate. How much time did you spend on this particular report?
So we've been working from our side on this report for about 2 years, and the researchers and consultants have been working for maybe 18 months on the project.
Yeah. Now, you've done similar things to this before. What is new this time?
Yes, we have a long history in working with these kinds of projects. I think we did the first project already back in 2013, where we did a project called Nordic Energy Technology Perspectives. Like this time, we did it with a Nordic consortium, but also in cooperation with the IEA.
The International Energy Agency. Yeah.
Then we followed up on that project in 2016. And there's a lot of differences since those reports. So for all of you in the audience that kind of follows the end of this discussion, I think you all know that there has been a lot of changes especially since 2013, but also since 2016, when I entered the Nordic Energy Research. And for instance, the cost of solar power was a lot higher than it is today. We've also seen as you mentioned, the Paris Agreement and also the new assessment report from the IPCC that also highlights the necessity to kind of get the speed up and get these changes done.
We should have done it yesterday.
Yeah, of course. So, but looking into the what we did differently in the analysis this time compared to the other projects, first of all, due to the need to reduce emissions faster, we have changed the target for the projects. In 2013 and 16, we also looked at the carbon neutral scenario, but back then we regarded that as a 85% reduction, and then the 15 remaining percent of emissions would be offsets. In this report, we look into a fully decarbonized energy system in 2050, while the greenhouse gas emissions actually are net zero in 2040.
So that's even more ambitious,
yeah,
in many ways. And at the same time, we see that we have the pathway to this end goal is even more bumpy than it was perceived to be earlier on. So how do you close this gap?
So what we also did this time compared to the earlier reports was that in the earlier reports, we had the targeted scenario where we wanted to be, and then we compared that to a business as usual, usually more or less 4-degree scenario, and with a slightly more ambitious, a 2-degree scenario. And we looked at what kind of extra ambition was needed to get to this carbon neutral scenario. In this project, we kind of took it for granted that we wanted to get there. But then we also recognize that there might be different ways of reaching that target. So we've developed 3 different scenarios that all, through different societal pathways, reach the targets that we would like to aim for.
So what are these 3 scenarios, Kevin?
So we have 3 different scenarios. We have the carbon neutral Nordics, where we focuses on the national targets of the Nordic countries and look into how, or investigate how to reach those in the most cost-efficient way. And then we have the Nordic Powerhouse, where we dive deeper into how the Nordic countries also could reach the Nordic targets, but also help the remaining parts of Europe in their transition by providing carbon capture, electricity, and synthetic fuels through Power-to-X.
So that's a great business opportunity then for the Nordics.
Could be a great business opportunity for the Nordics.
Yeah, and the third?
And the third one is carbon neutral behavior, where we look into how changes in material efficiency and energy efficiency could help ease the transition. So what would be the effects on the energy system if we, for instance, if the passenger transport traffic for planes don't reach higher levels than we had in 2019, for instance.
You said carbon neutral twice, but it's climate neutral behavior, isn't it, for the third scenario?
Yeah.
Is there a difference between climate neutral and carbon neutral that you would like to elaborate on for us now, or is that too complex to do in 2 minutes?
So in our scenario, what we aim for in 2050 is a net zero emitting energy system. So the energy parts in 2050 is actually net zero. What we reached almost 10 years before that is a greenhouse neutral emission system, but that's also taking into account the uptake we have in the land use change and forestry sectors as well. So I would say that going carbon neutral might be even more ambitious.
Right. Well, I think we should say thank you to you, Kevin, so far, because we're going to meet you again later on. But it's time, don't you think, to dive into the details of the report and, of course, the scenarios, but most of all, maybe the 5 solution tracks that have been pointed out and defined through this report. So I understand this has been a huge effort to end up in this report, and you're going to tell us a little bit more about that later on. But so far, Kevin, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.